As I was doing some research for one of our upcoming adventures, I was just warned by 2 government agencies to stay out of the area, which I believe contains one of the largest and most beautiful cave systems in Northern California. Let me tell you how this went down. In 1964, Northern California was hit with one of the worst floods in record history. It was known as the Christmas flood.
Disaster hit us again to make the big story of 1964. Heavy rains began, and the rains continued as storm after storm came in from the southwest. The combination of melting snow and ice combined with the heavy rains was too much.
After the water receded, a local miner noticed a new opening on his claim, possibly a cave entrance. As the hole was very small, he was too afraid to go in at this time. Several years later, the miner met a fellow explorer and told him about the cave he may have discovered. This was before GPS, so he drew him a map on an old brown paper sack. The explorer, along with 3 other spelunking friends, decided they would set out and try and find it.
After driving over 20 miles down on an old logging road, we then had to hike about 7 miles on a mountain ridge until we could see a limestone breakout about 1,000 feet below us on a very steep wall. We literally slid most of the way down until we finally fell into the creek. By this time, we couldn't tell which way we needed to go. There were some huge boulders all along the creek. We turned right and kept on going several miles upstream, fluctuating between crawling over the boulders and going through nearly impenetrable brush. After a long traverse, we were thinking that maybe we went the wrong way and should have turned left downstream. We went a little further and suddenly there it was. A very small tight crawl hole on the side of a bluff next to the creek.
By this time, it was nearly dark when they found the entrance, so they set up camp and had dinner. They were going to wait till in the morning, but being too excited to sleep, they couldn't wait any longer.
The crawl hole was a harrowing experience. If I remember correctly, it went on for about 50 feet where suddenly it looked like it ended. I was first in line and the hole was so tight that we had to yell at each other to be heard. I kept on going and discovered that it turned to the right at 90 degrees. At that point, I had to break away a few stalactites with my rock hammer. I knew then that we were definitely the first to be here. Going through that turn was very challenging. It was almost impossible to fit. I had to turn over on my back and exhale to make it through. We kept on going and finally the crawl hole opened into one of the most beautiful caverns I've ever seen. There were 3 levels which seemed to go on forever in a labyrinth of possibilities as to which way to go.
They spent 3 days and 1 night deep inside. This happened over 50 years ago, and to this day they still claim this is one of the best caves they've ever been in. So, is the story true? Well, the flood of 1964 really did happen, and after hours of research, I was able to find one reference to this cave in an old U.S. Forest Service field report. From there, I pulled out the old maps, compared it to the report, as well as directions from the story, and once you know it, it does lead to a limestone breakout at a base of a creek. I contacted the Forest Service, and it seems there is no information in their database about this cave. When I mentioned the area, I was told not only to stay out, but there's nothing there except possibly an old mine shaft. So then I sent them the old field report, and the response was, either they're trying to keep this secret or the data was removed long ago and the current employees just don't know. The one thing that makes this weird though, not long after I sent them the link to the report, it was removed from the internet. I also talked to the BLM, and pretty much the same story. They have no record of this cave, it does not exist, it's only a myth, and then they also warned me to stay out of the area.
Since it's on public property, we can't stop you, but that is a very dangerous area. Many people have gone missing and have never been located.
They did not elaborate on the dangers, but beside the obvious, extreme temperatures, rough terrain, high altitude, poison oak, bears, mountain lions, snakes, illegal growers, UFOs, Bigfoot. Come on, who wrote this? After a little more research, come to find out this place actually does have one of the highest Bigfoot sightings and missing person cases in the country. But I think a lot of that has to do with all the illegal marijuana farms in the area. In the spring, I'll be putting a small team together to try and locate this cave. I will be documenting and videoing the entire expedition in a series of episodes. So if you don't want to miss out, be sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Good Day to Die Adventures.